I have learned little more about American history during my few days in Boston. I found myself worrying about statues of the Indian chief Massachusetts, who looks more like a gorilla than an Indian. Seen a Spokane Indian. I have seen 1,000 shamans, but I have never seen a real Indian. I have seen 1,000 Indians, but I have never seen a real shaman. I have seen 1,000 white people, but I have never seen a real human. I have seen 1,000 humans, but I have never seen a real life. Across the aisle from me says, look at all the history. And I wanna tell her that if she looked out her window at the right time, she'd see my grandfather's ghost dancing on the steel rails. I wanna tell her that her history is a myth. I wanna tell her that my history is a myth. I wanna tell her that the only real history is the history of pain. I wanna tell her that the only real history is the history of love. I wanna tell her that the only real history is the history of forgetting. I wanna tell her that the only real history is the history of remembering. Repeats her words, look, all that history. And I see the reservation and the cemetery. I see the boys who died in the war. I see the girls who died of starvation. Do you know that the Spokane Indians are not Spokane Indians? They are the Spokane. Do you know that the Spokane are not the Spokane? They are the Sun people. Do you know that the Sun people are not the Sun people? They are the dreamers. Storytellers are not the storytellers, they are the historians. Do you know that the historians are not the historians, they are the liars. Do you know that the liars are not the liars, they are the poets. The white woman across the aisle from me says, look at all the history. And I am the dark-skinned man who is the only other person on the train. dust on the res, it holds 1,000,000 ghosts, and every single one of them knows the stories that you boast, or the ones you keep in silence, locked behind your teeth. A legacy of ashes buried underneath. You wear a stoic warrior's face, a mask you learn to build. Well, I just tell my stories till the quiet has been filled. We're both the sons of the wolf, a hunter who ran from fire and left us with the question of a funeral pyre. We're riding on this greyhound to Polson, Montana, to pick up the remains of a man we barely know. Yeah, just two Salish Indians 1,000 miles from home, with a box full of a father and seeds that he has sown. You say an Indian ain't nothing if he isn't tough and mean, but I think an Indian is something the world has never seen. Your hair is cut for battle, well, that's what you believe. Practice looking angry so no one sees you grieve. I wear these nerdy glasses, my suit is secondhand. They don't see a warrior, they don't understand that stories are like arrows. Sometimes being honest is the most courageous part. We're just a pair of Indians, a joke to them, you see, until we learn to laugh right back and say that isn't me. We're riding on this greyhound to Polson, Montana, to pick up the remains of a man we barely know. Yeah, just two Salish Indians 1,000 miles from home, with a box full of a father and seeds that he has sown. You say an Indian ain't nothing if he isn't tough and mean, but I think an Indian is something the world has never seen. His trailer smelled of leaving, of promises unkept, of all the silent sorrows that a lonely man has wept. Was he the hero of my stories, the villain in your soul, or just a broken person who lost all his control? To forgive a man like that, it isn't weakness, it's a fight. It's learning how to walk away and step into the light. We let his ashes fly into the Flathead River's rage, and in that gust of wind and spray, we turned another page. So how do we forgive our fathers? How do we forgive our fathers? Maybe we just tell a different story, and we tell it to our sons. Yeah, we tell it to our daughters, and the story story has begun.